Hey guys, what's up? Broad Buddy here again, and we're here on part, I don't know, I kind of forgot where we are in this process, but we're coming along with our Pneumag frame, and now we got to actually get this in here. I've trimmed it down to where I want it to be. Oh, I should mention, I've got the air ports coming out the top, and this is unusual. Usually they're coming out the bottom, and if this is the first time doing this, that you're doing this, you definitely want to do that instead. It's a lot easier to mount everything if you have the ports coming out the bottom with straight fittings instead of these elbow fittings. But I am going to try to mount this as close to the top as I can so that I can put an LPR inside of the frame. Now that's going to be a really tight fit, but we're going to try it and see what happens. But like I said, for your purposes, the ports might be on the different side, okay? Now I've drilled and I've tapped a hole here, and that's going to hold my valve in place, but I've got a problem that the screw I want to use is the head is too big, okay? It's not going to get past that part of the frame. It's kind of stuck. So all we're going to have to do is we're going to have to grind this down a little bit. Fortunately, this is a brass screw, so it's going to grind down really easily. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my drill and put this in here and tighten it down so it spins nice and even. I don't know if it's going to focus on this. That's pretty good. And then I'm going to take my file here, and basically I'm just going to hold the file against the top of the bit or top of the screw and then spin and then grind. And that will grind it evenly around the whole thing, and it will take down the screw's diameter, okay? Okay, there we go. We've ground down our little screw. Still has the slot. It'll fit through there, but it's not going to go the whole way. Obviously, you can go too far, and screw will go the whole way through, but now it should pop right in there. Let's see here. Da, da, da. Now I know what you're thinking, but Peter, you only got one screw in there. That doesn't seem right. I mean, with one screw, the whole valve could twist when you put some pressure on it. And I don't really think that's going to be a problem. First of all, you're not going to be hitting the valve that hard. Okay, you're going to be hitting the valve very, very lightly, and it should be fine. Secondly, I am going to put some super glue on this and make sure that it's nice and tight. I'm probably going to put a little super glue in between here, okay? If I really wanted to, I could tap this hole and then put in another screw that will go in and just put a little bit of pressure on the side of the MSV so that it doesn't rotate as much, but I'm really not too worried about it, okay? The way it is right now, I'm not touching there. That's good. Okay, I'm not touching up here. And if I can move this freely, I can move the arm freely the whole length. It's almost touching up top, but that's not going to be an issue, okay? Really, the arm isn't going to actually move this far. The arm's only going to move about, a millimeter or so. And so that should be okay. But again, I'm not gonna Loctite this down yet because I want to be able to move this around a little bit. But this is looking pretty darn good. Okay. Next we got to figure out what we're going to do for the trigger rod. Okay. There's a couple of different things that you can do, but the basic idea is that you're going to take your really long, this is the 1/8 drill bit that's 6 inches long. And we're going to take this and we're going to drill through the front and then drill all the way through and try to aim it right there. Okay, this one happens to have this little cutout. Some of the IntelliFrames don't have that, so you could go a little bit lower, but basically we want to go as high as we can, and I'm going to try to avoid going in there, so I'm going to come in at a little bit of an angle and do that, and that should work. Okay, once I drill this, again, you want to be careful when you're drilling through this stuff. Okay, start off by marking your spot and putting it, denting the frame with your center punch, and then just go nice and slow. You don't have a smaller drill bit to go through with this, but if you just go slow, you can at least do the first one, you know, use a 5/64 or something like that to get it started, and then gradually increase it to when you get to the 1/8. But then once you get to here, that should just go right through. Okay, there's a little, you can't see it on the thing, but there's actually a little lip on the inside. So once the drill bit is through this crack, it's going to be held in place and it's going to go straight, and it should be okay. All right. Now I've actually cheated. I'm not going to do it that way. I'm not going to show you how to do that. You can figure it out on your own. I have a mill, so I've milled a little bit of a channel. It's kind of hard to see. And I've got a square pin that's going to go right in here, and it will slide in like that. And then that is going to push the lever. And I think that's going to work very nicely. Okay, I got to figure out some way to keep this down so it doesn't jump up all over the place, but I think it's going to work. Okay. Okay, the next part, I've got to actually, to figure out the trigger rod, we actually have to have everything connected and make sure that it works. And this is one of the big pains in the butt, because you're going to start connecting hoses, and the hoses are going to be a little bit too small, and you're going to start pulling them off, and you might end up breaking one of your fittings. And so you want to be careful when you're doing this. The best idea is to cut the hose intentionally a little bit long, and then when you want to take it back off, you just take your knife and very carefully trim right there. Okay, and then it should pop off. Okay, then the part that you cut, obviously you don't want to use that again, so we're going to trim that off with our pliers here. Okay, and basically I just go over and over again, cutting off a little bit at a time until I have the right length that I want. Okay, I'm dealing with really small distances here, so let's see. That looks like that's gonna work. Okay. Yeah. It's okay that a little bit's popping out the top. Once the frame is installed, that's going to be fine. Also, I'm not worried about the hose going through here because the sear, the sear is going to be popping down here, and that's, it's going to rub a little bit, but that's okay. It's not going to rub through the plastic. The hose is pretty durable, and it's really not going to be moving that much. The sear only moves about 1 millimeter or 2, so that should be fine. Okay. Okay, next, this is actually where we need to put the trigger back in. So I'm going to take our parts from before, being careful not to lose them. This is our safety. That's going to go, let's see here. It's going to go, okay, that little flat side is going to go down, and the red is going to go to the left. Okay. Got to put that in there first. Then we're going to take, don't drop it. Don't drop it. All right, the tiny little ball bearing is going to go in there. Woo. Okay, and then the spring. Okay, and then where'd the set screw go? Dun, dun, dun. I've lost the set screw already. Oh, there it is. Okay. Now the spring is gonna pop up off the top of the frame, and the set screw has to push it in. So this is tricky. Helps if you have the right size Allen key for your set screw. There we go. Okay, we got to hold pressure and rotate at the same time. Heaven forbid you slip and the spring shoots the screw somewhere. Okay. We want that to just be flush with the top. If you put it in, you could put it in tighter, but then the safety gets significantly harder to move. So we're going to put it in so it's just flush. And that should be good. Now you want to be careful because you can, if I were to push the safety too hard, I could still push it out at this point. The trigger itself actually keeps the safety from moving too far. Okay. We're going to take that, and where's our trigger pin? Now I'm not going to totally pound in the trigger pin because I'm going to, at this point, I'm going to have to take it out and put it back in a whole bunch of times. So I'm just going to kind of snugly put it in there. And then now we got to figure out, you know, where the trigger rod is going to go and how long it's going to be. This is another part that takes a while, and you need to not get impatient, okay? Because basically, when the safety is on, okay, the trigger needs to not push the pin. But as soon as the safety is off, the trigger needs to push the pin, okay? So whatever pin that you're using, if you're using one of the, let me see here, if you bought the key, you should have one of these carbon fiber pins that you can grind down to length. And you just have to go, like I said before, go really slow, okay? That you cut off a little bit and then check to make sure that if it's the right size, and then you gotta, you know, pull out the trigger again, cut it down a little bit shorter, check it again, and just go very, very slowly. Keep on. You want to use a cutting wheel to trim this down. You can't use pliers because the carbon fiber will actually splinter, and then it really won't work, okay? But you just want to go slow and take your time until you have exactly the right length, okay?